Dan and Corey here, welcoming you into Libservative.
The great fundamental issue now before our people. We, the people, cannot turn back.
And welcome in to another rousing rendition of Libservative. I'm Corey Walsh. This is Bell, the Bodysnatcher. As you can see, Dan is not here tonight because making plans after a night of drinking on a show doesn't seem to work out. Me and Bell were here spamming the group chat looking for Dan, wondering where he is. Only for him to message like, dude, I'm at that meeting that I told you about last week. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. We were supposed to do the show tomorrow. But in my sober mind, I made way more conscious decisions of scheduling and planning for my Thursday because I'm going up north for the weekend. So Dan's not here. He's going to deal with it. And me and Belle are doing the show today. So what's up, Belle?
You know, same old.
Dan's missing.
Nothing. Dan's missing. He's gone.
I was starting to get like a little concerned. I was like, where the hell is this guy? Like, he's usually so prompt. He's always on point. He's probably the most reliable one of the three of us.
Yeah.
And he was, because he made plans for the show tomorrow. And you weren't here last week, so you had no fucking idea. I'm the one that was supposed to bear the brunt of this knowledge, apparently. But alas, the show will go on because you work tomorrow. I can't be here tomorrow. I don't know if Dan's going to do a solo show by himself. Maybe he will. Maybe we'll get some more content from Dan. In the meantime, Libservative Podcast is found on all social media and podcast platforms. Our website is libservativeshow.com. We can be found at Libservative on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Instagram and Twitter, LibservativePod. Our TikTok videos can be found at Libservative Podcast, and you can reach out directly at libservativepod@gmail.com. Subscribe today. So things I got written down, the things I wanted to bring up on the show. Dan usually has his own script, but he's not here. So I got how to spot propaganda. You know, it's really easy to let it go by the wayside and just kind of seep into your consciousness and help you form opinions. I got when it comes to police, incompetence on the surface, but nefarious under the sheets. And then a little story of tactical dirty politics that play out right out under our noses that have that could potentially have massive impacts on our lives that we don't even realize happened. And we also have some headlines from a hellish, horrible landscape. And I don't think I let you finish your thought, Belle. I was just rapid firing, spit fire in there. I started off the show really rough because I was accidentally muted.
You know, I've moved on. I don't even remember.
Oh, you moved on. I think I asked you, how's it going? No, I want to know, Belle. How are you?
How am I? Actually just got over a sickness, but other than that, I feel, you know, like...
Got the Rona.
No, luckily it wasn't the Rona. I took a bunch of tests.
You sure about that?
It's just bullshit. It's just bullshit.
I know. Who knows anymore, right? Probably gave it to 25 people. It was probably
could've.
my shoe.
You super spreader. You gave everyone what's essentially the common cold now.
Yeah, it was probably on my shoe. Spread it around.
You know, one other thing I want to notice too is like throughout this show, I think Dan's had at this point like maybe 3 different backgrounds. I've had at least 2. But you, I think you've had the most of all the backgrounds you've had though. I think I like this one the most. For the obviously that right what I'm saying right now is clearly for the people watching the videos and not people that are listening to the podcast.
There's so much.
Bell right now behind him, he's showing he has a bunch of like very well drawn like paintings, but it's all like pop culture from our kids. Like we're millennials. He's got Marvin the Martian. I see Arthur. I saw Lil.
Yeah, Phil and Lil.
But No one's gonna give a shit about Doodle Bob.
Doodle Bob. I love Doodle Bob.
But no one's gonna give a shit about this that's listening.
It's beautiful though.
But yeah, I guess we could start off, Bell, with some things learned to keep the show going and as organic as possible.
Oh yeah. Well, what did you learn this week, Corey?
Oh, you're gonna pass the baton back to me.
I
So what
take it.
I learned
Okay.
is that many of like the unhealthy foods today that are like the most addicting foods because they're high in salt, high in sugar, high in glucose, different things like that. The reason why they're like basically the reason why they're like this is because in the 80s, Philip Morris and RJ Reynolds, for those of you who don't know, those are two of the biggest cigarette companies, bought major food companies like Kraft, General Foods, Nabisco, allowing the tobacco firms to dominate America's food supply and reap billions in sales from popular brands such as Oreos, cookies, Kraft macaroni, and cheese and Lunchables. Which, them making a lot of money on making food that people love, that's not the problem that I have. However, it seems as though they used a lot of the same type of tactics that they used on the cigarettes, on the foods, by using different chemicals and stuff to make the stuff more and more and more addictive, and spending a lot of money on doctors and lawyers and bullshit institutions to create studies that would say this is good for you. You know, like, oh yeah, sugar is good for the kids. It gets them energized, gives you energy.
Give your kids a quick.
They sold them all in the 2000s, but like they left a legacy for sure, right? Like the food, like, and it's all the worst foods. It's all the really bad foods that are unhealthy for people.
It literally is the worst foods too. And I was just like a thing earlier. It's like all these things like wheat thins and stuff like that. You're not even allowed to have in a lot of countries.
Yeah, yeah. Like so, a new research that was published in the journal, in a like I don't have the name of where it was actually posted, but it focuses on the rise of hyperpalatable foods which contain potent combinations of fat, sodium, and sugar, and other additives that can drive people to crave and overeat them. The addiction study found that in the decades when the tobacco giants owned the world's leading food companies, the foods that they sold were far more likely to be hyperpalatable than similar foods not owned by tobacco companies. They hit the bliss point and elicit cravings. And then you think about it, honestly, like these companies, like that's literally what their marketing and like job was. Like, why not do this with foods? Everyone's coming after the cigarettes now.
Right.
Thoughts?
Nobody even thinks about it with the food.
No, I'm just
Well,
kidding.
nobody even thinks about it with the food. I mean, they think about it, but like, at this
Did you know
point-
that? Did you know that at one time the cigarette companies own like all of like the biggest like junk food providers and processed food providers?
Not.
That's pretty wild.
Not. No, it's kind of weird to think about. It's like that one discussion we had where it's like Kodak or Ball Jars. They sold out their shares of making jars, and now they make what, satellites or something like that.
Yeah,
Like, okay, but like it's
it
the same
happens, I
thing.
guess. I think I remember learning about this in marketing. It's one of the 4 Ps, like your position. You're like, yeah, it's literally just shifting the 4 Ps of position, product, price, and place, or something like that. Placement. I don't know. I don't remember. Anyways,
Sense.
what did you learn this week, Bill?
What did I learn this week? I learned that they actually said that caffeine was bad for us for a long time. Caffeine and stuff like that is bad for us, but a new study has found that regularly consuming moderate amounts of coffee and other caffeine actually helps protect against developing cardiometabolic diseases, which is like diabetes, stroke, heart attacks, heart disease, and stuff like that, which I thought
So
was
it's like getting
crazy interesting.
caffeine in like a like a pure form, not like a Red Bull or a Monster, obviously, like just black
No.
coffee.
Coffee or any sorts of caffeine. It doesn't. I don't.
Well, I
I'm not gonna
mean,
get into this
I guess
specifics of
caffeine is
how
caffeine,
much,
right?
but
Caffeine
I
is
didn't get into
caffeine, but like
I
the
didn't I
additives
didn't
to it.
I didn't get into the specifics of how much caffeine like you would have to intake per day for it to be like healthy. But um, yeah, I just thought that was a pretty interesting thing, and also that octopi lead fish hunts.
They go on
Found that
fish
out this
hunts?
week. No, so they find a school of fish that is like on a hunt already, and then they go to the front and they say, "Follow me," and then they lead the fish to the food and they let the fish eat, and then they take off and say, "See ya."
What is there any sort of is there any sort of are they still trying to figure out like what would that benefit? Like are they picking up scraps? Are they
They don't even know anything about an octopus.
No,
As
they don't
far
know
as
shit
most
about
scientists,
octopuses.
as far as most scientists are concerned, they're aliens. They can do anything. They can live anywhere. They can do anything.
Yeah, Dick,
They
isn't
can't
yeah,
see.
well, isn't their DNA also similar to like more like a virus than like
Yeah,
regular DNA?
it's not similar to anything on
Welcome to
Earth.
Libservative Podcast. Octopus facts. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
octopus are pretty fucking crazy.
they
Um,
regenerate. Best hunters.
yeah, that's what I
ever.
was saying. Like, I think because like, or no, it's like, or like, I think they just have RNA or something, right? Like their DNA isn't similar to like other species.
I'm not entirely sure how that
Well,
all
Google
works.
that real quick. I'll go off on a ramble on
All right.
this little thing that I'm talking about real quick, just to kill the dead air. But yeah, like I remember like when it came to evolving, when other animals evolved their physical and like mental attributes uh to thrive. I think octopus like did that, but like with their maybe not necessarily their DNA, but like their structure.
I don't think that octopus have DNA at all. They have mRNA and they can edit it on the go.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So they just have mRNA. All of their fucking DNA is because mRNA. That's
Oh, they do have DNA. Okay.
oh, they do. I was where the fuck did I hear that?
Well,
Like it
no,
was
that
some.
I mean, it's because the genome is large. It's a huge. All right, so the genome is large. They have RNA. They got mRNA. They got DNA. They're the octopus genome has many gene types that are more expanded than in other invertebrates. These genes are thought to play a role in brain development. So they're constantly changing and evolving. And sequencing the DNA of octopuses can provide insight into the past. For example, sequencing the DNA of Turket's octopuses has helped geoscientists confirm that the West Antarctic ice sheet collapsed more than 100,000 years ago. That's irrelevant. Octopus can adjust
Okay, yeah.
environmental
So
changes by editing their
so
RNA.
this is what I heard. All right, I think I found it. A huge discovery was the ability of the octopus to improve on its own genetic code. This is common in humans and other animals, but the ability at which the octopus can edit its own RNA is pretty wild. They are able to adapt their nerves in order to withstand the extreme cold of the deep ocean. They can adapt their nerves. You know what I mean? Like they can change like their body structure. It's just wild.
It's just be like, yes, you can handle this now.
Yeah, yeah. Just fake it till you make it, I guess. Yeah, you're just telling your body, nah, like the power of the mind, like, nah, you're good, dude. And the body just
They all
goes,
have
we
split
are good.
personality disorder. They get down there, they're like, I don't think I can make it, man. And then 2 seconds later, so their other personality, like Cold Bob, comes out. He's like,
They're just like,
"No,
I
you
can make it.
can."
I can and I will. All right.
Damn.
So now that we went off of that tangent, let's get
Yeah.
back. I got something. So if I could tell you what the book Manufacturing Consent was about, I got the theme of it, but I couldn't. There's not much I can remember from it. I read it a few years ago, but I remember the theme of it, and it's how the media and the government and different industries and stuff and different governments working together will essentially manufacture consent. It's a book by Noam Chomsky. I think I forgot to mention that in the premise, but it's a book about how they'll use these different wings and just kind of try to influence the populace the best they can with like the best given narrative that fits, their narrative or like what they want you to think. And so you see it often with like with different tragic events and the way different media will like tug at the heartstrings. You hear the terms "if it bleeds, it leads" and all of these different things. Well, different governments like to do this exact thing, and sometimes they use the media as useful idiots. So I don't know if you saw recently Benjamin Netanyahu's speech to the people of Lebanon. Did you happen to see that? Telling them to leave their homes, and
Did not.
you didn't see that? He was telling them to leave their homes because
I seen that they were planning on doing something on the ground, but I didn't
yeah,
see that.
like he sent out a message, and he was talking about how Hezbollah is hiding missiles in their homes, telling these people this, and I could only assume, I could imagine people there kind of going, looking around their house like, I ain't got no fucking missiles. Like there's a lot of people that live in Lebanon and big cities. Remember, you saw the whole city of Beirut go up with that big explosion a
Beirut's
couple
there.
years ago.
What's the other big city that's there? There's another. They're tourist destinations.
Yeah, like Beirut for sure. But so,
Looking right now.
so he's speaking to the people of Lebanon and telling them that the IDF is coming to eradicate Hezbollah, and you need to, leave and vacate and get out of here. So, did you see the speech at all? You didn't see it, or you didn't hear it?
No.
Well, if you listen to it, you could understand it. And I was kind of baffled at that at first, thinking about that, right? And it made me remember the book. Just basically what I said in English, but he also gave it in English. Now, his main, like, he's from Israel, I believe. I'm assuming his primary language is Hebrew,
Yiddish, probably, right?
Yiddish, and he's speaking to a country that predominantly speaks Arabic. Why was he giving that speech in English? And it's because it wasn't for Lebanon and it wasn't for Israel. It was for the American people, or people that speak English.
Well,
Because this is the very thing, like when he gave this speech wasn't like, it's just like when Putin, or just like when other leaders from other countries or people in China, when they give speeches and they either put out a press release in English, if they speak English, or if they use a translator to translate their words, those media pieces that are being distributed aren't for their people. It's for English-speaking people in the West. Those are messages that they want the West to hear. Okay? There's no reason for them to go through all that work unless they want you to hear it and you understand it as someone who understands English.
what about?
Okay? And what he's saying in that is his basic message, like, of what you could take away from that, regardless of what he's saying he's about to do, was, well, at least that's nice of him. He's letting the innocent people know to leave. You know what I mean? It's called manufacturing consent. They're shifting the narrative that Israel is the good guy. Did they get attacked first on October 7th? Yes, absolutely. I always have to give this caveat because I don't want people to think that I'm some anti-Semite who thinks Israel shouldn't exist. Israel should exist. Israel has a right to defend itself. I don't like how they're doing it. I don't think American dollars should be funding it. But going back to this message, it was for us because our country is the moneymaker for them. And whether it's some of the 40,000 troops now that we're sending over there, that now we might have troops back on the ground in war fronts because of this Israel thing. And that's like, that could be another 20-year war like Afghanistan was. I got a 5-year-old son. I don't want him in the war. And I don't want him going to war for something like this over something that's geopolitically kind of insignificant. not as a people, the people aren't insignificant, but like the ties that we're willing to seem to go to create a complete disrupt in the Middle East with this country. It doesn't, I don't know. They say they're the only democracy in the Middle East, yet they're shooting journalists and doing all sorts of crazy shit.
You know, I was just reading. So he was born in '49, and he was pretty much raised in Pennsylvania.
Netanyahu was?
So he was born to secular Jewish parents. He was raised in West Jerusalem for a couple of years, and then he went to Pennsylvania. He actually graduated from Massachusetts Institute of Technology. He worked for Boston Consulting Group, and he
Isn't that like a CIA thing?
yeah, and then he moved back to Israel in '78 to work for the IDF and join the IDF.
Boston Consulting, holy shit. No, I'm pretty sure that's okay, no, what they do, so what Boston Consulting Group, and correct me if I'm wrong, what they fucking do is they basically go to small third world countries and go, hey, listen, you need a dam built here. It'll create power for your whole country. It'll be great, and you just have to take this loan from us. We'll send the people. We'll take care of all of the work, and we'll build this infrastructure for you. And then you just pay us back the money in this loan that has this extremely high fucking interest rate on it. And the numbers we gave them to sell it was, you'll see a 20% GDP, you'll see a 12% GDP, you'll see a 6% GDP, but they wouldn't. They'd maybe see 2 or 3, so they couldn't afford the loan that was given out. And so what America would come back and do and go, well, you either have to let us get a hold of your natural resources, or you have to let us put an embassy here, or you have to let us put a military base here and do things like that. But so, correct me if I'm wrong, but Boston Consulting Group is basically consultants that work in third world countries to help them better their economy and help them make their country become into the developed world.
They work in a lot of countries, including Sweden and the United States.
They're headquartered here, I think, in Delaware.
BCG filed a lawsuit against GameStop as the latter allegedly denied payment of fee worth $30 million for a project. GameStop argued that it saw it is in the best interest of its stakeholders to deny payment, as BCG brought little improvement to the EBITDA of the company, the EBITDA, I don't know what that is, which the consultancy allegedly promised to improve. BCG counter-argued that the company has delivered more than it promised in statement of proposal, and that the quoted variable fee was based on the projected, quote-unquote, not realized, improvement of EBITDA as per the contract. On July 30th, 2024, the suit was concluded in a joint dismissal. Larry, if you yell one more time.
Oh, well, what I'm curious about is, did Boston Consulting Group, are they what I'm thinking, like a Chase T. Main?
They just, what does that all mean? Basically, that they threw in money and demanded something, and GameStop said you didn't, or are they shareholders? They had to have been during the GameStop thing, yeah?
Well, that was, but no, this group, they might not be, they might not be the exact group that I was thinking of initially. I'm thinking of like Chase T.
Dude, they were
Go
involved
ahead.
in like the FIFA thing. They were, they allegedly worked with, or they were identified as working with Isabel dos Santos, who exploited Angola's natural resources while the country suffers from poverty, illiteracy, and infant mortality. Yeah.
So wait, say that again. I'm sorry.
Okay, so they were contracted by Angolan state-owned petroleum company Senangol, as well as the jewelry company De Grisogono, owned by her husband through shell companies. This is the lady that the company hired, BCG.
So what you're saying is they're basically convincing leaders of underdeveloped countries to accept substantial development loans for large construction and engineering projects?
Yeah. Yeah. Except they were doing it in big countries too. They were doing it in Sweden. They were doing it in Saudi Arabia for the FIFA deal. Yeah, man. They got balls. This company got balls. I think we stumbled upon that by accident.
No, it's yeah. BCG enables countries, by economic growth strategies, transforming public finance practices, and improving government-wide effectiveness. Yeah, they go in, they consult, they give these countries loans. Yeah, it's the same thing I was just saying. Yeah, yes. Yep. Interesting. I forget how we even got to that point. This is what happens when Dan's missing. But yeah, so anyways, oh no, Netanyahu worked for that company, which is interesting.
Yes.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. But yeah, so I'm not discounting the fact that he can speak perfect English. It makes sense that he grew up here, but I'm assuming he can speak his home language, and I'm pretty sure he could probably speak Arabic. You could probably find that out real quick if Netanyahu can speak Arabic. Will you look that up real quick?
Universal. Yeah, I'm sure.
Look up what languages Netanyahu can speak. But either way, him speaking
English is universal though.
Yeah, but
You always have to remember that. Like, it doesn't even matter where you are.
if you knew how to say, okay, if you were in a different country, let's say you were in Mexico, and you know how to say caution, look out, because someone might misstep and go in a hole or something, and you know the word to say in their language that they'll understand, what are you going to say it in?
He has he speaks 4 languages. So he speaks Hebrew. So you were right. He speaks Hebrew. I thought it was Yiddish. I didn't know if they spoke Hebrew or Yiddish. He speaks English, and they said he speaks English with a Philadelphia accent, which is hilarious to me. He speaks French and Spanish as well.
Oh, he doesn't speak Arabic?
No, he does not.
Oh, well.
You would think he would.
You would think yeah. It's interesting that I still find it interesting that message. I know, right? That message was sent out in English. You would think, and I'm sure that they sent it in Arabic too over there, but it's I don't know, it's a little fishy. Speaking to the people of Lebanon in English, not their main language, trying to make the narrative that they're the good guy. You know what I mean? I don't know if you can think of any other I guess that's just the main thing I had with how to spot propaganda.
You know, I was actually talking to somebody about this the other day too. Well, it was probably a week ago. But even when you're reading headlines and you see the same article and it's 5 different media outlets, like CNN and Fox. When you read, when Donald Trump got shot for the 3rd time, 2nd time, I don't know. You could see the clear bias in how each media outlet was trying to make you feel before you even clicked on the damn article to read it. Just you CNN's attitude towards it is just oh, Trump shot at again.
Right. But yeah, I guess other things I could point out about propaganda and stuff, if it's fake, if it really, really enrages you, it's probably not true. If you agree with it completely, it's probably not true. It's always check the sources, and if you want to get really into the weeds, you always got to check the outlet of the source, the journalist who wrote it. You know, we've said all this stuff on our show countless times. But yeah, this video alone,
That's it.
a guy who speaks Hebrew, or a guy who's in charge of a country who speaks Hebrew, who is trying to warn a country that speaks Arabic and telling them in English. But that's the whole thing, right? Like the plausible deniability. Well, he speaks English.
Let me see
He
what
speaks
they speak
English.
in Lebanon.
I'm sure it's
Oh.
Arabic.
It is Arabic. Arabic, English, and French are widely spoken.
English is widely spoken, huh?
Widely spoken.
You're really punching a hole in my propaganda example here, Bill.
I'm sorry. As an
Well, that's
Arab
okay.
country, Lebanon's official language is Arabic. However, English and French are very widely spoken.
That's okay. Sorry that you're popping holes in my propaganda.
I'm sorry, but no, it's. I mean, honestly though,
But-
it's worth questioning. You have to question it at this point.
And even so, you call this moving a goalpost, maybe. But even still, sending out this message that was widely circulated without the Arabic dubbing, but the original English, about how Israel's given this stance that they're telling everyone to leave, when this is exactly what they did in Gaza. They told everyone in Gaza to leave, remember?
Yeah,
And then when everyone moved, they still bombed where people were. And
still
then
doing it.
and they're still doing it. And this is like they're doing like the same playbook, trying to come off as the moral high ground. And it looks like they're using the same exact playbook again. It's just absolutely mind-boggling to me. Because it works on some people. They were like, you hear people say it like, well, they told them. Well, what are they supposed to do? Their hands are tied behind their back. But then you hear prime ministers and stuff and things in their news outlets and there's news anchors saying Lebanon is going to cease to exist, and they're over there banning news outlets. You know, they just stormed Al Jazeera's news. Like,
Shocker.
yeah. Like, there's journalists like getting woken in their sleep and getting the shit kicked in and stuff like that. Like, and their wives trying to stop them and then beating the shit out of their wives. This is all shit that's like pretty clear out there. I mean, it's all out there and backed by credible sources and credible outlets. But yet it's not shared on the mainstream media because you lie by omission. And that goes right back to like, that's how you spot propaganda.
Not telling the truth is propaganda.
Right. A very small country on the other side of the world having its message spread across our country, but yet we don't hear what Putin says in English. I mean, I guess he's an ally. It's just the way things are left out conveniently and the way things are put together, and it's just, yeah.
Some things can be bad and good at the same time. Like, the way that you receive news nowadays, it's like it's either really, really bad or it's really, really good. It just depends on the opinion that you've already formed, I guess. They don't report news anymore. It's just it's the echo chamber.
Yeah.
And it's bad. It's
So,
so
get ready, I guess, for probably fucking going to war again. Fucking hell, man. It's unbelievable. It really is. Like, I can't, like, we finally got out of Afghanistan. Oh, which, by the way, speaking of Afghanistan, real quick, did you hear about their opiate output?
yeah, actually.
It dropped 95% since America left. And now we're trying to actually tackle the opioid crisis here. It's almost like the
How are we gonna do
opioid
that?
crisis was manufactured.
I think we're just gonna let the supply run out. I think the
We
problem
got
is solved
fentanyl now. We don't
itself.
need opioid anymore.
The problem will solve itself. It'll work itself out.
All the heroin addicts left. So they fucking didn't need to make so much anymore. I'm guessing.
Damn.
All right, on to the next. 1 second. I'm going to rename this one real quick. Because this is a tale of police.
Ooh. Sounds like a tale of destruction and
Competence in the streets, nefariousness under the sheets.
hell yeah.
So, I don't know, did you hear about this turnstile shooting?
I don't think so.
So, a guy in New York jumped a turnstile, and 2 cops saw him do it. And they chased him down and ended up with him being shot.
Naturally.
So right now I'm looking at this one article at CNN. It says New Yorkers took to the streets of protest this week as the NYPD released body cam footage of police shooting involving a subway fare evader armed with a knife that drew heavy public criticism. So apparently, this is what's also interesting, because if you want to Google real quick, was the New York turnstile shooting knife found, or say was Daryl Mickle's knife found? Google if Daryl Mickle's knife was found, because
Or an N.
M Mickles, and at least at noon today, that knife was still missing. That the evidence of the knife is not there. I don't know if you found anything on it yet, but so this is what's interesting, right? So they said he pulled a knife. Everyone's saying that the body cam footage doesn't show it. And he jumped the fare for $2.90. Now,
Can't find anything.
I am a man who does believe, to an extent, in law and order. And when I say that, I mean like protection of person, property, and your rights, right? And I understand the idea that if he hops the fare, there's got to be some sort of law and order to where you have to pursue the guy and possibly tackle his ass and arrest him and spend all that time chasing down $2.90 is trivial and as funny as it actually is. That's what's caused this. But they said he wielded a knife. Now, if he did wield a knife,
They said that he wielded a knife, but that's not what they're talking about. They're saying that he had his hands at his side and he was standing still and his back was to a train. The officers claimed that Darrell Mickles had charged one of them, and they said that they fired a taser on him and it didn't work, so that they had to shoot him.
yeah, the tasers never fucking work.
Passengers. So I'm gonna try to get the body cam footage here.
Well, I'm not so worried about the body cam footage. I just want to know about the knife, because the last I heard from, I think, Daily Wire, NPR.
If it's got a weapon, I'll see it in the body cam footage.
Okay. But yeah, so they're like, last I heard, they still haven't found the knife, and he ends up getting shot. Now, I understand pursuing him, tackling him. If he did in fact have a knife, then even shooting him, I understand it being justified. You can lunge at someone and really get them, from 9 feet away in like 2 seconds. But I understand that part. But this is where the incompetence comes in, Bell.
Right now, keep going.
Not only was he shot, 4 people, including a police officer and the fare evader, were shot in the September 15th incident that started when a man jumped the subway turnstile, evading the $2.90. He did have a knife?
100%.
The footage shows it?
100%. I'll send you the link right now.
Right, but no, even if they did, that's what I'm saying, though, the knife, I think the evidence is still missing.
Let's that he had a knife, and more that they said he charged them, and they're running at him right now. He's running up the stairs. It's because he jumped over the turnstile
Right.
that started this whole thing. He's walking. He did have a knife in his right hand. I did see that, like, at the turnstile, he had the knife in his hand, which is kind of wild. But I'm thinking that I'm coming up to the part right now.
But
I'm gonna fast forward.
okay, then it goes back to what I was saying the other way. If he did have a knife, like, I haven't seen the footage. I don't know what the guy looks like. I think the art actually. Oh wow.
Oh shit, he did charge them.
Oh wow. The CNN article actually doesn't state that the man is black.
That's shocking.
Yeah, I didn't know until I saw it just shows a photo of him standing there at the end of the article.
This guy-
But yeah, it doesn't, at least up to the point where I'm at when I'm reading it.
Well,
But
judge from what I just seen.
anyways, 2 other people got shot.
That's ridiculous.
2 other people got shot. And a cop got shot. Like, were they just blasted shots?
All right, see now this is where I'm confused.
So that's where it's just like, what were these guys doing?
So the way that the guy was standing when they started shooting him was his back was against the train. They were opposite the train, probably 6 feet away, like a triangle. So I'm imagining, because they tased him, Buddy started running at the cop this way. So he's running along the train. Cop runs away from the train. So now they got him triangle pinpointed. They probably started shooting him like that and probably shot through the train or some
Just
windows.
started popping people.
Yeah, just indiscriminately shooting this guy.
I don't know if, like, I would like to think in that type of moment, like, I would just have, if I knew he had like a knife, like a mace and a billy club, like, lunge at me, just spray a fucker and just crack him. But then again, you don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, if I'm like me as an untrained cop, and if I'm exercising my Second Amendment right, and I'm out and about, and a guy comes out with me and a knife, me being the untrained person would pop a couple of shots. It probably hit 2 or 3 people. No, I wouldn't. You're supposed to check your backstep. I know it was a joke, but straight bullet might catch a stray cat or something. I don't know.
These guys are
But I'm also not a
Backdrop
trained
train.
police officer. But I'm also not a police officer.
True. We're
So,
probably not police officers for a reason.
yeah, because I would probably at this, yeah, but this is supposed to be NYPD. That's what's frustrating. They're just police. A lot of police out there just go about their business during the day, but it's a job that, like, it's high stakes poker. It's like the pilot parable. If a pilot
Supposed to be New York's finest.
if a pilot does a simulation training and he's only landing the plane 90% of the time, unless it's for Delta, they're gonna be like, no, or not Delta, American Airlines. What? I'm not gonna. Is it too early to make a Malaysia joke?
Not for
2 of their
me.
pilots crashed. But those were the plane's faults, not the pilot's faults. But I digress. In a lot of other industries, if somebody can only, in a high stakes job, like let's say a doctor doing routine LASIK surgery, would you go to a doctor with a LASIK eye surgery that had like a 90% success rate? And he's like, I see 10 patients a day. I have a 90% success rate. Would you roll those dice? No, you wouldn't.
What's it
You wouldn't
discount,
hire him.
Doc?
Yeah, is there a discount? It's like, I got this Groupon, but you can't have cops. in even like the craziest scenarios, like they're supposed to train for these crazy scenarios. You can't have them fucking Reynoldsing, just popping shots in the air and hitting someone in the foot, ruining their NFL career. You like that Sonny reference? Oh.
I like a Sunny reference.
You were frozen
Picked
for a
a hell of
second
a
there,
time to
bud.
do it, dude.
So, while the incompetence, though, and now stories like this are popping up, and this goes kind of going back to how the media likes to really talk about certain things and kind of suppress other things, is while this incompetence is going to clearly, like it's already bringing protests to New York, and depending how the heads of departments and the heads of administrations and governments and stuff like that handle this, this one could be another one that gets out of hand. But while this distraction is happening, on the other hand, in Georgia and Atlanta, where they were trying to make Cop City, where it was going to be a training ground for police and firefighters, there's currently, let me see if I can find it. Here it is, the article I'm looking for. In Cop City, or where there was the Cop City protest, they're charging 57, I believe the number is, people who were just protesters with a RICO charge. Yeah. You're muted, so I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. Yes.
But yeah, 57 Cop
Charges are
City
crazy.
protesters are being arraigned on racketeering charges. And the city just dropped a lawsuit against, I believe, 15 people who are part of the Atlanta Solidarity Fund. It's an organization that helps like with bail bonds for people who are like arrested like protesting, coming after them for money laundering as part of the RICO case. But they dropped those because there's nothing to that one. But yeah, they're being accused of criminal conspiracy while protesting against the controversial Georgia Police Training Center. And here's the thing, the people aren't even just pissed off it's just cops. They're also pissed off that fire departments are going to be training there. Because what do fire departments often use? You're seeing a lot of commercials for it. PFAS. It's a chemical that can get into your water system and get into your bloodstream.
We're dealing with it here. Right
We're
now.
dealing with it here all over, yeah.
In Lake St. Clair and Lake Huron.
Yeah. And so, yeah, exactly. And perfect. That's going right into our water, right into our bloodstreams.
A lot of people don't even go swimming at a lot of the beaches anymore because the PFAS actually give everybody swimmer's itch and all that. So, swimming from Port Huron pretty much north to Port Austin almost is undesirable anymore because swimming will make you itchy.
Boy, am I glad I spend all my beach days on the west side.
It's such a shame too. It's been getting better because they got caught. It's literally mostly suffrage. It's mostly military bases and anywhere that
They do training with fire, yeah, just like this.
yeah.
But so here's the thing, like this case is a case like this will go all the way to the Supreme Court, I'm assuming. This is a very, very, very big First Amendment violation. The right to assemble. It's pretty clear cut. This isn't a gang, this isn't the mafia. And them going after them, I feel like it's more or less a look what we'll do to you. You know what I mean? This is more of a almost more of a warning, I feel like. And I don't like it. And here they are being very competent in being able to put together a RICO case against 57 fucking young kids who didn't have a job, spending all their day protesting. And they turn around. Like, so while, like, I guess, like, while, like, part of the state is out there just misfiring and popping shots in the middle of a crowded subway. They're also able to competently try to put together cases like this to actually enforce the law on the people that they really want to quell. And it's just, this one is what, I don't know which one's scarier. Which one's scarier? The idea that a cop might trying to shoot someone where the situation got escalated, but the catalyst or like the spark for it was someone just dodging a $2.90 fare that ended with someone being killed, and possibly you getting shot in the crosshairs for just trying to go to work. Can you imagine how pissed off some of those people were? Or the fact that city prosecutors and state AGs and stuff are trying to take away your constitutional rights.
Well, personally, I would like to believe that I would be more mad about the latter, but you gotta watch the video before you're like, well, would you be more mad if you're this guy or like?
No, not that guy. I'm talking about the people just standing around, not that guy.
Oh, yeah, no, I would be.
You paid your fare. You're just minding your own business. Like, oh, hello, Mr. Friendly, Officer Friendly. Thanks for protecting me.
Dude, that is crazy. No, what would
what would you rather? Say? What would you rather?
J.D. Vance say? That's the price we have to pay to live in a safe place.
Yeah, I think Kamala would be like,
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. You know?
That cop must have fallen out of a coconut tree.
oh, man. But yeah, it's just.
Oh, that's wild.
I was trying to find a really good soundbite.
We ain't found shit.
We ain't found shit. Yeah, so I guess like it's just I saw both of those stories pop up in my feed, and it's just like, the fuck, which one's worse? Like when they got their shit together or when they don't? Any other thoughts on that one, Belle?
I think we pretty much nailed that one. I mean,
all right, on to the next.
What do you think is worse, anyways? What would?
Well, I don't know. I'd be pretty pissed if I got shot just trying to ride the New York subway for no reason. It's like, I paid my $2.90, bro. Or if I have my rights taken away, because then I can't even scream I paid my $2.90. So, because I wouldn't have free speech, they would try to say I'm a mafioso.
Yeah, New York's finest.
So, here's another one that I was thinking of, or that I came across my little ticker of sorts in my daily search for new news. This is an example of just like another thing. Perfect. Another thing. Meanwhile, the government was just averted, like it's news. It's news so much that it's not even like news. That the government averted a shutdown. Our government. The one who's currently funding 2 fucking wars. And
Graces of God.
We have an election coming up. And we just averted a shutdown. Which is such a fucking wild ass, laughable fucking statement. That it's one that we've heard it so many times is insane to me. We averted a shutdown. So while this blatant incompetence of our government not being able to balance its books, even though every single fucking American and the rest of the country does it, you balance your books, even if it's at zero because you wages are shit, like we're still making it work. We don't really have, I mean, I guess we go into like a little bit of debt, but government can't even do it. And then at the same time, you see these weird little tactical things when it comes to elections. They always get their shit together. And you saw recently Nebraska, where just by the vote of one person, almost overturned its electoral college procedures to where. So, back up. Nebraska and Maine are the only two states in our country whose electoral college votes, it isn't a winner take all. In every other state, whoever got the most popular vote gets the electoral college vote. In Nebraska and in Maine, they both they divvy it up, so to speak. And so Nebraska, the popular vote gets 2 electoral votes, and then they have 3 districts that are divvied up. So usually the Democrat will always get 1 vote from Nebraska. Omaha is a pretty big district. It's a downtown center. Urban areas are typically lean more left. Well, they almost pulled it off to where, and then they're able to do it whenever, basically, like in their bylaws for their state constitution. But Maine, any new amendment to their constitution, they have to wait 90 days before it comes into effect. So that would be December 17th if it happened a week ago. And it would be Christmas now. December 25th is when the new law would come into effect. And so Nebraska waited until that 90-day deadline in Maine, because it's a Republican-led House in Nebraska, waited until 90 days, the deadline for Maine, and then tried to pull the fast one and do a vote to where all of a sudden their electoral colleges are winner take all. Now here's why that's important. There are many paths to the presidency that Kamala and Trump can take by a state-by-state basis to the electoral colleges to get that 270 vote. This one is the scenario where Trump gets back Arizona, Nevada, and Georgia, who all went blue, and Harris takes Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. Now, if that happens, and Nebraska is still the electoral college vote that's divvied up, it goes 270, 269, Harris. However, if that vote is winner take all Nebraska and Trump gets it, it's 269, 269. And if that happens, then, and this hasn't happened since 1824, if that happens, then
More.
What'd you say?
More.
If that happens, then the presidential vote goes to the House. And then the vice presidential vote goes to the Senate. And when that would happen, it would still be I believe, still the House that we have now until the new session starts or whatever. And they would probably vote Trump in. So that was his option. That's one of the scenarios he was trying to sure in. And Republicans in that state were trying to make it happen. Now, granted, they would just be a winner take all. And in any other election, it would seem almost oh, they're taking one, but I don't think anyone would care in any other presidential scenario. But this one's so razor thin, and Trump is hated so much. This one would be looked at as him trying to do election interference, I'm sure. But I guess they've talked about it before, in 2017 or 2012 or something like that. They've talked about it before, but it's really funny how they tried to do it right now when Maine couldn't. Because Maine always said that if Nebraska does it, we'll do it too. And they still probably would have. It just wouldn't have taken place until after December 17th. So here's an example.
I seen that Nebraska really didn't want, Nebraska. I seen that Kamala Harris really didn't want Nebraska to do this.
Oh, I'm sure, because she knew it was a chance for him to win in one of the paths. Because as tight as race as this is, they'll count on that one vote all of a sudden. That one vote will be important.
It really, really matters. Yeah, it could have last
It's
time.
just wild. It's wild how tactile and competent that they almost are and can be. When I just saw Kamala Harris there. When it's about like the election or like about staying in power, of how lockstep they can be, like one side of the government or the other, to almost make like, but when like to be that strategic, but when it comes to just the basic running of the government, they just seem so incompetent, overburdened, and cumbersome. Like, yeah, it's fucking wild to me. Like, it shows that like if they want to get their shit together and make shit happen, they can. They just don't, because they don't give a shit about the American people.
Party. It's about my party.
It's not my party. Party over country, brother.
Party, brother.
It's the party, brother. What else do I got? I think that's it. I think we're good. You got any final thoughts, Dan or Bell? We're hitting like 1 minute on the nose. We might as well stick with it.
No, I think this is beautiful. I think we did beautiful work here tonight.
Dude, we talked about octopuses for like 10 minutes.
That's okay.
The Absurda Podcast is found on all social media and podcast platforms. Our website is absurdiveshow.com. We can be found at Libsurdive on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Instagram and Twitter at LibSurdivePod. Our TikTok videos can be found at Libsurdive Podcast. And you can reach out directly at libsurdivepod@gmail.com. Subscribe today. Dan will be back next week. I'm going to try to talk to him. Maybe next Tuesday we watch the debate and do a react video or something.
Octopus need love too, you know.
What'd you say?
I said octopus need love too sometimes.
Octopus are cool fucking animals, man.
And I'm sure the U.S. Army and military will find a way to use their camouflage abilities soon on a weapon, and we're going to be talking about that. And sooner or later...
You're talking about octoid people? They're gonna infuse octopus DNA into humans.
Yeah, Elon
all right, well,
gonna do it.
You heard it here first. Until next week. Peace.